Woke.
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 Woke. Woke.
Woke.
What do you think of when you hear the word woke? It's a term used so frequently these days in mainstream media, on social media, and even by politicians. But what does it actually mean?
There's nothing wrong being woke.
Today's Labour Party has got woke running through it like a stick of Brighton rock.
It's the sense that you're superior and somehow there is an answer. And it's very anti-British, it's very nation-hating.
The way woke is used now tends to be very different from the original meaning of the word. It's taken on a new life form altogether, distinct from its history and origins. Some would argue that the word has been intentionally co-opted as a tool to undermine certain groups in the so-called culture wars that we're seeing play out in the political landscape of Britain. To understand how this change happened and why woke holds so much power as a concept, we have to go back and look at the etymology, where the word comes from. The term woke and the phrase stay woke originated in the 1940s and was first used by Black Americans to mean waking up to social injustice. To be woke was to be aware. The terminology remained prevalent in Black American popular culture. It appeared in the headline of a 1962 New York Times article titled "If You're Woke, You Dig It" by William Melvin Kelly. And it was used in a 1971 play by Barry Beckham titled Garvey Lives, in which he wrote, "I've been sleeping all my life, and now that Mr. Garvey done woke me up, I'm gonna stay woke," which doesn't quite work in a British accent, but you get the idea. Singer Erykah Badu used the phrase "I stay woke" in her 2008 single Master Teacher. And it was later used by Childish Gambino in 2016's Redbone. Wokeness was originally associated with Black Americans fighting racism, which is why it was so prevalent in the civil rights era. By the mid-2010s, the word had resurfaced after becoming attached to the Black Lives Matter movement in America, gaining traction with hashtags and tweets as protesters mobilised in the streets and online. Here in the UK, we were barely aware of the word or its meaning until the noughties, and it wasn't added to the Oxford English Dictionary until 2017, where it's defined as being aware or well-informed in a cultural or political sense. But being aware and well-informed are widely understood to be positive attributes, things that most of us are striving for. So why then is the word so frequently used as a pejorative? And how did the definition become so skewed to be one of the most common insults you'll hear if you turn on any TV debate or panel show? In just a few short years, the meaning and connotations of the word have significantly shifted. Now, rather than signifying an awareness of social injustice, it is used to suggest that someone is being pretentious and insincere over how much they care about an issue. It is often followed by the similarly negative snowflake, a term that has divisive connotations in the UK, and is frequently used online in arguments and in debates in the media to belittle people with typically left-leaning viewpoints. Speaking to metro.co.uk, linguistics professor Jonathan Charteris-Black said this type of subversion of language is often a result of overuse. He argues that once a word slips into the mainstream, it can fall out of favour with the marginalised groups who created it, as it is co-opted and misused by other groups.
So it all goes back to what the person intends to do when they use the word. The original intention, I guess, was to have some positive outcome for a minority group. But then when other groups feel threatened or challenged by that, they may want to sort of subvert that in some way. By using the enemy's own weapons, that makes it even more powerful.
So, is using the word woke in a way that is completely misaligned with its original meaning an intentional power play by those looking to undermine people who disagree with their worldview, as Jonathan suggests? It could be argued that the subversion of woke is political and deliberate, as it means the term can now be used to perpetuate the very injustices it sought to eradicate in the first place. This word has power, and the people who use it as a weapon may be all too aware of the underlying connotations of racial and social ideologies. When it is used to undermine and disparage the voices committed to fighting for social justice and the rights of minorities, it effectively silences these viewpoints without engaging with them. As well as the troubling implication that caring about racism is an attribute worthy of ridicule, using woke as an insult dilutes the term and renders it pretty much meaningless. Rather than specifically referring to issues around social and racial injustice, wokeness now covers everything from caring about the environment to casting an interracial family in a Christmas advert. A Tory MP even used it in a particularly limp dad joke that said people who didn't want to return to the office were woking from home. What seems to have happened here is that the term has been stretched so thin that it doesn't really mean anything anymore, and is now bandied around as a catch-all insult for anyone appearing to stand up against the status quo. When the word woke is watered down in this way, used to poke fun in advertising or commercialised in slogan t-shirts, and overused as a hashtag, the racialised origins of the term are eroded and rubbed away to nothing. The reality is that there is no longer any coherent or cohesive political ideology behind the word woke. Its meaning is whatever anybody who uses it wants it to be, which of course means it doesn't really mean anything at all.